نعم تفضل يا أخي.
Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, rahimahullah, said, however, with the damage, i.e., to property, liability is affirmed, whilst the sin and shortcoming are negated.
نعم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. This is a continuation for the previous rule, number 15. As the Shaykh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, said that mistakes, forgetfulness, and being forced, you're not sinful for them. However, the rights of others don't go to waste. Their rights remain. The Shaykh gives an example, says if a little boy, he has a will or not, the Shaykh says a little boy, his will is not a complete will that is counted and taken into consideration. So the Shaykh says if a little boy breaks the window of a car, then his wali must pay for it. This is an example for it. وَمَنْ قَتَلَ مُؤْمِنًا خَطَأً فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مُؤْمِنَةٍ. And whosoever kills a believer by mistake, then he frees a slave, a believing slave, as in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 92. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed and established تحرير رقبة, that he must do it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took away qisas because it wasn't intentional. So he's not to be killed because of so. نعم, قاعدة number 16. Go ahead, the next verse.
Sallallahu alaykum. From the rulings of connected matters is allowance. However, not when it independently occurs.
طيب, نعم, this is difficult to translate. The Shaykh says, and if we want to write this in prose, we say يثبت أو يجوز تبعا ما لا يجوز استقلالا. It is permissible. This is difficult to translate. It is permissible, or let's say something becomes permissible when it is not intended independently on its own. The Shaykh says, or we can say يثبت تبعا, it is established that which follows ما لا يصح استقلالا, that which is not correct independently. Let me try to translate it in a better wording. Let's say that which is dependent becomes permissible when it is not impermissible independently. What does this mean? We don't understand anything. Like, the Shaykh is going to give an example so you understand, and you can help me articulate it in a better way, if you can. The Shaykh says, if a person sells his farm and he has trees that bear fruits in them, and the fruits are still not ripe, we tell him it is allowed that you sell the land with the trees and its fruits. Still not clear. Another example. Or the same example, if you haven't understood. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when fruits are not ripe, is it permissible to sell or they're not permissible to sell, ya ikhwan? They're not permissible to sell, right? So independently, if somebody came and wanted the fruits on their own when they are not ripe, this is haram. طيب, here, he sold the land with the trees and the trees, the fruits are not ripe, then it is haram. They say لا يجوز تبعا ما لا يجوز استقلالا. يجوز تبعا ما لا يجوز استقلالا. So it is allowed when it is not, I am explaining now, it is allowed when it is not intended for itself. Yani the guy that bought the land, he didn't want the fruits that are not ripe. He wants the land and the trees and so on. Therefore, it is allowed that which is dependent. It has to. The fruits that are not ripe, they are dependent on the land and the trees and so on. So it has to go. So it becomes allowed. That which is dependent, that which is dependent becomes allowed, even though it is not. They are not allowed, or it is not allowed when it is independent on its own. It's not allowed. And if you want to buy the fruits that are not ripe on their own independently, this is haram. أيوة. طيب, another example. Somebody wanted to buy a camel, the Shaykh says. The camel is pregnant. يجوز, is this permissible or it is not permissible? The answer is permissible. طيب, what if he wanted to buy what's in her belly? Is this permissible or impermissible, ya ikhwa? Impermissible. So when he bought the mother with her pregnancy, both of them are his now. But if he wanted to buy the what's in her belly on its own, it's impermissible. So that which is impermissible becomes, that which is impermissible independently on its own becomes permissible when it is taba', when it is dependent on what you want to buy. It follows what you buy. أيوة. نعم. So this is the, I don't know, how do you articulate what we just said? How do you put it into one sentence in English? Taba' is a very difficult word to translate in English. Taba', follower, it's not going to give the meaning. How would you translate it? Do you have a way of translating it that sounds يعني eloquent and No, the whole rule, I mean. The whole rule. Because we want you to, we said we want you to make a list of all the rules. How do we use this rule? Yani even when it was translated, it was way off. Can you reread the verse? The verse is way off from the meaning. Can you reread it?
From the rulings of connected matters is allowance. However, not when it independently occurs.
يعني fine. We can say, maybe we can say, يعني from the matters or from the rules upon connected things or things that are connected. Again, say it again.
From the rulings of connected matters is allowance. However,
meaning permissibility. Don't say allowance. Permissibility is better. نعم.
From the rulings, from the rulings of connected matters is permissibility. However, not when it independently occurs.
Okay, fine. And one of the brothers said that which would not be permissible becomes permissible when it is connected to something from which it comes forth. Fine. This kind of explains it more. Now, let's go to the next one. I'll leave to you how you're going to articulate this one when you make the list. نعم. Number 17. Rule number 17.
Customs are implemented in the case of a ruling of the noble Sharia left ambiguous.
طيب. Left ambiguous or نعم طيب. This is the 17th قاعدة, and they are from the 5 major قواعد. وهي, which is أن العرف معتبر معمول به إذا لم يأتي في الشرع حد. That the urf, customs, are taken into consideration and you act upon them if we don't have a ruling or a definition in Islam regarding it. For example, guests. He has the right of guests. The hospitality, that is for guests. طيب. What is the right of hospitality? According to customs. The rights of hospitality are according to customs. طيب. The Shaykh says, in some of the customs of people, the hospitality is tea. And nobody's going to say they are stingy or something like that. This is their urf. This is their custom. And in some cases, some a'raf, some customs, it is a sheep. And in some, a chicken, for example. But what if we have, it has been designated by the Sharia? والعرف معبول به إذا ورد حكم من الشرع في الشريعة لم يحد. يعني if it is not designated by the Sharia, then customs are taken into consideration and you act upon them. طيب, what if we have designation by the Sharia? Then the customs are what? Are not taken into consideration. العرف, customs, لا يعمل به, is not to be acted upon إذا خالف الشريعة, when it goes against the Sharia. This is another rule that the Shaykh has given us, the Shaykh Muhammad Hisham. Put it as well, as this is a good rule. Put it in يعني a subcategory or so. نعم.
Sallallahu alaykum. The author rahimahullah said, the one who hastens to a forbidden, i.e. reward, before its time will be at a loss as well as deprived of it.
نعم. And this is a good way in articulating it. And this is the 18th قاعدة. If we wanted to say it in prose, the Shaykh says, من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. How many a time have I heard the Imam al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala say this? من استعجل, through the internet of course, من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. The one who hastens to gain something before its due time, he is punished by being deprived of it. As Shaykh Muhammad Hisham says, he is deprived of the ruling itself. He is deprived of the outcome. He is deprived of the reward. All of these things we can يعني say is the meaning. The Shaykh says, let's give an example for this. Is it time for Maghrib now? No. طيب, what if one of the brothers, he hastens and he says, I will pray Maghrib before you. The Shaykh says he is punished by being deprived of its reward, so he has no reward. And it is, of course, we add to what the Shaykh said, and it is invalid. And it is invalid. طيب. And from this, write this down, the Shaykh says, منع القاتل من الميراث. Depriving the killer from the inheritance. Therefore, the Prophet ﷺ said, there is nothing for the murderer. The murderer does not inherit. By ijma', the Shaykh says. طيب, what is the Shaykh talking about? Let's explain it. Somebody, والعياذ بالله, we seek refuge by Allah, he commits a crime, murder, basically. He kills the one he will inherit from. Why? Because he wants the inheritance. He wants the inheritance. So he goes and kills him. So, in addition to his punishment and so on, is that he is deprived from inheritance. He is deprived, he's not given anything, even though it is his right. Yes, it is his right, and he was going to inherit, but because he quickened and did that, hastened it, he is deprived of the inheritance. Nah. Some of the ulama, they say for this qaida there is only this example. But the Shaykh has given us another example. طيب. نعم. قاعدة number 19.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam al-Sa'idi rahimahullah said, the meaning of which is, if a prohibition is committed within an action or in its conditions, the action is corrupted and deficient.
There are fuqaha that don't agree to this qaida, ya ikhwah. There are fuqaha that don't agree to this qaida. And I believe this is a qaida of the Hanabila. And there are ulama that don't agree to it and don't accept this qaida. طيب. And the Shaykh says what is meant here, that if the forbidding is in regards to the action itself. That is what it depicts. That is the subject of the forbiddance. يعني the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, "La salata." There is no salah. Negation and forbidding is for what? The salah itself. Except with wudu. That means that the one who prays without wudu, then his salah is batilah, is false. Or regarding its condition. The Shaykh says, for example, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "La salata li jari al-masjid illa fil masjid." There is no salah for the neighbor of the masjid except in the masjid. This hadith has been narrated by Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the Shaykh says there is something regarding its isnad. And I say, this hadith is inauthentic. This hadith is inauthentic, as the people of ilm said. And then the Shaykh says, and by assuming that the hadith is authentic, now is the talk about the salah itself or a condition from the conditions for the authenticity, for the correctness, the validity of the salah? Nobody wants to answer? طيب. To the condition of the salah. To the condition of the salah. He said, "La salata li jari al-masjid illa fil masjid." And he's not talking about the salah itself, talking about the not praying at the masjid. This is something outside of the salah. طيب. Then the Shaykh says the forbiddance or the negation is not for the salah itself. So what? So and the Shaykh even adds, I do not understand. And the Shaykh even adds, says not even a shart for the salah, because the shurut of the salah, the conditions of the salah are known, the 6 shurut. And he says then this means that there is no perfect salah. There is no perfect salah. Let me take a look at other examples that the Shaykh has given, because this is not clear enough. Because the Shaykh mentioned it as an example for a condition, and then he said no, the conditions are known. But let me take a look. What did he mention regarding conditions? The Shaykh mentioned killing frogs, that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade killing frogs. So can we imagine someone coming and eating a frog? No, because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade killing frogs, meaning their eating is also haram. The Shaykh says riba is muharram for itself. طيب. Intoxication, khamr, is muharram for itself. Gambling is muharram is forbidden for itself. Pork is forbidden for itself. And the Shaykh tells us that if there is something haram in itself, then handling it also is haram. Killing it and so on, and selling it and so on, this is also haram. طيب. طيب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but the Shaykh did not mention regarding the condition of something. The Shaykh did not mention regarding the condition of something. طيب. And maybe that's because, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but maybe because the Shaykh doesn't agree with this qa'idah. Maybe because the Shaykh doesn't agree with this qa'idah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. نعم.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said, the meaning which is, the one who harms an aggressor is not liable after trying to repel in a manner appropriate.
نعم, this is قاعدة number 20. And the Shaykh says we can say it in prose that إذا ترتب على دفع الصائل تلف فلا ضمان فيه. If there is damage that is dependent on pushing away an aggressor, then he does not make up for it. Or we say ليس في دفع الصائل ضمان. There is no guarantee or reimbursement in pushing away an aggressor. And the sa'il, what is meant by sa'il, is the person who wants to harm you. The person who wants to harm you. طيب. The Shaykh says, for example, if we have a hunting dog that is owned by somebody and he attacked another person, and this other person wanted to push away the hunting dog and he was not able to, and he was going to bite you, so you hit him and you killed him by hitting him. Do you now have to pay for it? No, you don't have to pay for it. Why? Because you pushed in that which is بالتي هي أحسن, يعني that which does not harm him by pushing him away or shooing him off and so on, scaring him off, and he did not go away. طيب. The Shaykh says, طيب, you saw that your neighbor, for example, he parked his car and forgot to put the gear on park, and he went inside his house, and you're looking at his car started moving, so you did not know how to stop it, so you brought a big rock and you put it in front of the car because it was heading into your house. So you put a big rock so that it does not bump into your house. So the car bumped into what? Into the rock and stopped. None got hurt but the car. Do you now have to pay for the damages of the car? No, you don't. No, you don't. طيب. And then the Shaykh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, he said, after these قواعد الفقهية has been mentioned, the Shaykh started mentioning قواعد that are أصولية, أصولي قواعد, and they follow القواعد الفقهية. However, the difference between rules, fiqhi rules, and usuli rules is that fiqhi rules are for issues of fiqh, and usuli rules are for how to derive evidence for the issues of fiqh. These are the differences. So now, the usuli rules. نعم, تفضل يا شيخ شهريار.
Sallallahu alaykum. The author, rahimahullah, said, the meaning which is, the definite article indicates a comprehensive generality in plurals and individual entities like al-alim.
نعم, this is the rule number 21. The definite article, in English يا أخوة we say the. It is equivalent of the word all or every. في الاسم العلم الجمعي, in plural names, and in singular ones, they indicate generality. So when you hear the Messenger ﷺ saying, Al-Muslimu, the Muslim, Akhu al-Muslimu, is the brother of the Muslim, this means some of the Muslims are your brothers, or all of the Muslims and every Muslim is your brother. Which one, ya ikhwa? Which one? All. Ahsantum. All. Therefore I say, the Muslim is the brother of the Muslim. Meaning, all Muslims. طيب, every Muslim, all Muslims are brothers. That's how we translate it. طيب. طيب, what about el? The same. We have el, which is the in English, which does not mean generality, which does not mean every and all. The Shaykh says, write down إذا كان عهديا لا يفيد العموم. When it is عهدي, when it is called the L of al-ahd. And the Shaykh did not explain. طيب. لا, we have to explain it because you don't understand what ahd is. يعني it is for knowledge or prior knowledge, let's say. طيب, let's explain it. Keep in mind, ya ikhwa, when I spoke, you saw me ignore one of the rules that when the negation has to do with the action itself or the condition. I looked if the Shaykh gave an example or not, and the Shaykh didn't give an example, because the issue in my eyes, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, in my lacking view, is that it's not mundabit. Therefore, a lot of the fuqaha, they reject it, or some of the fuqaha, some of the ulama reject it, because it's not mundabit. Sometimes it is questionable. Even when they say, the forbiddance was before the condition, therefore the transaction is false. The nahi is for the selling itself, therefore it is false. When you look at the books of fiqh, for example, they say after the call for Jum'ah, for those that Jum'ah is mandatory upon them, if somebody does a transaction, then the transaction is null. The transaction is not correct. You see that the Jumhur of the Fuqaha, they say the transaction is correct, but he is a sinner. Because it doesn't have to do with the salah itself, it has to do with the call for Jum'ah and the transaction. But some they say, la, but the forbiddance is for the salah itself, because the salah is the one that you're gonna prefer. It's not, when you take a look at it, it becomes confusing, this condition that they have put. And I saw what the Shaykh was saying. I was reading it. Even the Shaykh himself, he said it has to do with the condition, and then he said, but the conditions are 6 and they are known, so this does not have to do with the condition. So now it is a complete, it's about that his iman is not complete, and he moved on, didn't give another example, because it's not mundabita, meaning mundabita, meaning it is not it how do you say it in English? It's not you say in English it's mellow, it's not concrete. It's not concrete. It's it has loopholes and has this and has that and has exceptions and many exceptions. It's not concrete. You understand? Barakallahu fikum. Therefore, I kind of moved swiftly from it. Anyway, and in the other explanations in the books of fiqh, you'll find more and more in depth, and this is not the place for such an in-depth study and looking at what the ulama said. طيب, as for this one, al-ahd, we have to indulge in this one. طيب, I always explain it in this way. In English, it's the same as in Arabic, in the term of that there are things that are definite and things that are indefinite. Somebody comes to me, Shaykh Adam says, I do not even know what's definite and indefinite. Or Purple Lion, Shaykh Purple Lion comes and says, look, my mother tongue is not English. I don't even understand these words that are coming out of your mouth. What is definite and what is indefinite? What do you mean? We say, look, if I said, I will write with a pen, do you know which pen I'm going to write with? Answer me, barakallahu fikum. Do you know which pen? No, you don't know which specific. It's a pen, meaning any pen. But if I said, I saw an elephant, do you know which elephant I saw? No. Fine. Look at, these are different pens, huh? This is different and this is different. Each one is different than the other. Which pen am I writing with? You don't know. I said I will write with a pen. Which pen? You don't know. طيب. What if I did this? Now you're watching me. And I said, I will write with a pen. The pen I wrote with. Now you know which pen, right? Now you know which pen. أيوة. Which pen? The pen I wrote with. طيب. I saw an elephant at the zoo. We don't know any elephant. The elephant that I saw was a young elephant. So now we know. This is the difference between definite and indefinite. Definite, if I say the elephant I saw in the zoo, now we know which elephant. The first time I mentioned it, I said an elephant. We don't know which elephant it is. This is indefinite. Huh? But if I said the elephant I saw, now we understand it's the first elephant I mentioned, not a different one. So we know which one it is. This is called now definite. That's the difference between indefinite and definite. So when you have something that is definite, you usually put the before it. And when it is indefinite, you put a in English, or you put an in English. And you put an when the next word afterwards starts with a vowel. But if it does not start with a vowel, sound-wise, and it starts with a consonant, you use the word a. So a pen, a park, a light, a. But if it's gonna start with an a, you say an apple. This is how English works. طيب. We have the, which is al, that is called for al-ahd. The elephant we saw. It doesn't mean all elephants. It doesn't mean all elephants. So if I said, and I'll give you another example. What if it is not something that I mentioned? What if it is something that all of us know? What if it's something all of us know? يعني we say فعصى فرعون الرسول الرسول. Does it mean, what does it mean? Which messenger did Fir'aun disobey? Musa. Look, all of you answered Musa. Even though Allah did not say Musa, He said the Rasul. Al-Rasul. This is not al for generality. This is al for al-ahd. It is al for al-ahd. It is al for something that we all know. Therefore, they call it al-ahd al-dhihni. Al-ahd al-dhihni, meaning that when I say it, it occurs in your mind. You instantly know it. Aywa. So this is al, that is not for generality. This is for al-ahd, but which ahd? The ahd that you know. طيب. What if I said al-qari' for this lesson, the one who's reading? All of us are going to think, who is the qari'? All of us are going to think, quickly. Who is reading, ya ikhwa? Now. No, not Ibn Munir. Who's reading now? Ibn Munir is not even here. Shahrayar. Na'am. Al-Qari, meaning Shahrayar. Why? Because he's with us in the room, whether on Zoom or in this room. He's with us. طيب, how did we know? This is called al-ahd al-huduri. So we have al-ahd al-dhihni, that when I say it, you instantly know it's in your mind. Al-Rasul, Musa. And you have al-ahd al-dhikri, meaning that I mentioned it before. Therefore, you know. Yani if I said, for example, ya akha, we are reading this poem, or we are reading the poem. Which poem? Mandhumah al-Fiqhiyyah for al-Sa'di. Why? Because I mentioned it in the beginning of the lesson. Al-Mandhumah al-Fiqhiyyah for Imam Sa'di. This is called al-ahd al-dhikri. Ahd that is known because it was mentioned. And there is al-ahd al-huduri. Al-ahd al-huduri is, I say, the reciter, or the reader, afwan. Who is the reader? The one who's with us now. Huduri, who is present with us. So this is called ahd huduri, yani ahd of presence. Al-ahd al-dhikri, ahd of that which is mentioned. And al-ahd al-dhihni, ahd which what occurs in the mind, that is known in our minds. These are the three examples. I know that they might be confusing. Therefore, I will mention the three again. Student of Islam is saying, what are we learning? This is called, we are learning Mandhumah al-Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyyah. Now we are learning something called usul al-Fiqh. These are rules of the usul. In the Arabic language, words have al before them. Yani you say al-Rasul. فَعَصَى فِرْعَوْنُ al-Rasul. As in the ayah. فَعَصَى فِرْعَوْنُ al-Rasul. Which Rasul? Everyone said Musa. How did they know? Because this al In the word Rasul, they say al-ahd al-dhihni. Yani it's this al gave us the meaning that what? That it is the specific messenger that we know called Fir'aun, and he is Musa. طيب, if I said al for someone who's present with us here, I said the reader for the book. We all know Shahrayar, the one who's reading with us now on Zoom. Why? Because he's present with us. This is called al-ahd al-huduri. That al here told us the reciter, not any reciter, the reciter. Which reciter? The one that with us right now. This is called ahd huduri. Aywa. And we have al-ahd al-dhikri, the one that is mentioned. Yani I say we're going to read a poem. The poem that we're going to read is al-Mandhumah al-Fiqhiyyah. Now we are reading and we say the poem said, all of you are going to say the poem is a Mandhumah al-Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyyah. Somebody has just entered into the lesson. He says, how do you know? You say, because the Shaykh mentioned it. This is ahd dhikri. These three are very beneficial, by the way. You'll see them in the ayat, you'll see them in the hadith. You say, how did you know this is the meaning of al in this hadith? You say, because the Messenger ﷺ mentioned it in the beginning of the hadith. You say, but I don't have it. You say, na'am, because you're not looking at the full hadith, and so you understand. So they will benefit you, ya akhwa. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. The author, rahimahullah, said the meaning of which is indefinite objects in the context of a negation indicate a generality, i.e. similarly in the context of a prohibition.
Na'am. The Messenger ﷺ says, La salata. There is no salah illa bi fatihat al-kitab, except with reciting the Fatiha. What does this mean? Is the salah of janazah included? We have to recite al-Fatiha in salat al-janazah? Yes or no? The salah upon someone who's dead. Do we have to recite the Fatiha? Abu Hurairah says yes. Why? Where did you get this from? Muhammad says yes. Ibn Zakaria says yes. How do you know this? Samnan says yes. How? I'm asking you how. Huh? How? Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La salata, nakira, indefinite. There is no prayer, any prayer. So now, when we say voluntary prayer, is it included under any prayer? Yes, it is included under any prayer. طيب, what about obligatory salawat? Yes, of course there are salah. طيب, what about salat al-janazah? Is it a salah? Yes, it is a salah. And the Messenger said, La salata, there is no salah. Any salah. Did not specify. So this is an indefinite word. There is no prayer. Meaning, any prayer. Aywa. So now we understand. طيب, Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Jinn, فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. So do not supplicate to أحدا. This is nakira or ma'rifah? This is nakira, indefinite. Meaning what? Anyone besides Allah Azza wa Jal. You cannot translate it to someone. You have to translate it to anyone. So now you cannot supplicate to anyone besides Allah Azza wa Jal. Aywa. So when we have an indefinite word like ahada, ahadan, in the context of prohibition or negation, it means generality, as if you said everyone, no one, all. Aywa. Naam.
Sallallahu alaykum. The Shaykh, rahimahullah, said the meaning which is similarly, whoever and whatever both indicate every generality. O my younger brother, so listen.
كذاك من وما يفيدان مع كل العموم يا أخي فاسمع. Look how they translated it. The English even doesn't have it. They cannot even translate it. So they translated men to whosoever. Because men, say this word men means generality regarding those who are animate. And this is in most cases, not all cases. Some cases they come for inanimate things. And you have ma is for inanimate things. And this is most cases and not always. So therefore, when you say men, it is whosoever. That's how you translate it. And ma, you translate it to whatsoever. In the Arabic language, you don't understand this. You never really think until you become a student of thought. You say men, oh, it means all and every. Ma means all and every, subhanallah. من يعمل صالحا يجزى به. Whosoever does that which is righteous, then he is rewarded accordingly. Meaning whosoever. من يعمل صالحا. Anyone who does it. أيوة. لله ملك السماوات والأرض. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belong the ruling of the heavens and the earth. وما فيهما. And وما. What do we translate to وما فيهما? Everything that is between them. Owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ruled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. So these are 25 rules so far. Naam. Number 26.
Sanallahu ilaykum. The author rahimahullah said the meaning which is similarly a singular noun, if it is possessive, understand. May you be guided to intelligence what proceeds.
Meaning when you have a singular making up a compound noun. You say, Abdul Aziz, what's going on? This is difficult. We say, Naam, you must know Arabic for these things. Translating these things, yani from the mercy of and the bliss of Allah, blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we actually have translations that would not give you the full meaning, but try to make you understand what is being said. You have mufrad mudaf, a compound noun. And the same with whether it is singular or it is plural, both of them. Singular compound noun or plural compound noun. Say, I don't understand this jargon, this has to do with language, I don't understand it. I'll say, inshallah Azza wa Jal will make it so easy for you that will become, as you say in English, a piece of cake. Inshallah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Nahl, ayah number 18, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا, and if you count, نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, the blessing of Allah. Allah's blessing. And if you count Allah's blessing, Allah's blessing are two things or one thing? No, I'm saying on face value. Don't give me the meaning. You understand? Alhamdulillah. I'll give you another meaning. If I said the security guard, is it one person or more than one person? Security guard, one person or more. This is a compound noun. Yani two words that refer to one thing. That's the name. You cannot say security without guard, right? Security guard. طيب. Do I mean one person or all security guards? If I say a security guard has to be strong, now what happened to the meaning? Or if I say a security guard has to have the keys with him to lock up whatever he is guarding. Does this mean one person? I'm talking about one person, or I'm talking about every security guard? Every security guard. Again, when I say a security guard needs to have the keys to what he's guarding, meaning any security guard, the security guard of the school, the security guard of the bank, the security, right? When I say a security guard must have, when you say, for example, let's give another example. A secretary needs to know how to work on a computer, meaning any secretary needs that. Aywa. But when we have a compound noun like this, when we say a security guard, we mean every security guard. طيب, now again, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, and if you count the blessing of Allah, the blessing of Allah, نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, one blessing, you won't count it. It's one. How will we not count it as in the ayah? We say, because yet, despite the fact that it is said as one, the meaning is what? If you count the blessings, all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will not be able to get hold of their number, to count them all. Aywa. So now we have a singular word in a compound noun, and it means all. And if you wanted to count all of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you won't be able to count them. This is the meaning of the ayah in Surah Al-Nahl, ayah 14. The Shaykh says, إذا عددنا, if we counted the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we start counting them, 1, 2, 3, all of them, we're not able to count them all. طيب, what if it wasn't a singular? What if it was plural? You say, Muslimu al-Hindi fi karbin shadid. The Muslims of India are in a great calamity. The Muslims of India. Muslimu al-Hind. This is jam' mudaf, same thing. It means all of them or some of them. It means all of them. All the Muslims of India. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for the people of India and all the Muslims in all the land. Na'am. Number 27 and number 28 together. No, عفوا, number 27. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum.
And now we're going to go back to قواعد, to fiqhi قواعد instead of usuli قواعد. نعم.
Sallallahu alaykum. A ruling is not passed until there is a fulfillment of all conditions and preventions are lifted.
أيوة, he must meet the criteria. ولا يتم الحكم حتى تجتمع كل الشروط والموانع ترتفع. This is a 27th قاعدة. And this is not an أصول قاعدة, this is a فقه قاعدة. And it is أن الحكم لا يصح إلا بعد وجود الشروط وارتفاع الموانع. That the ruling is not correct until the conditions are fulfilled and the preventive factors or the preventive factors are lifted. The Shaykh gives an example. If somebody comes to pray without wudu, do we say that his salah is valid? No. Why? Because he did not meet all the shurut. The conditions are not met, which is tahara. طيب. What if somebody fulfilled the conditions? He said, I prayed, I turned towards the qibla, and so on and so forth, and I prayed with you, and I have fulfilled all the conditions of the salah. Is my salah correct or not? The person next to you, he nudges you. Says, this person is insane, by the way. This person, يعني, he insane meaning what? Ya ikhwan, he lost his mind. Yani, clinically, he doesn't have his mind. Are there preventive factors here or not? Or no? Yes, there are, which is what? Insanity. Aywa. So it is there. Insanity, not sanity. Sanity is a condition, but a preventive factor is what? Insanity. طيب. So we cannot tell him his salah is valid. طيب. Somebody said something which is kufr. Someone said something which is kufr. And he did not know that this is kufr. What do we do now? The Shaykh says this is a preventive factor that prevents this. So in order for the rulings to be fulfilled and that the conditions to be met and the preventive factors are not there. طيب, who is the one, and this is extremely important now, ya ikhwa, who is the one that establishes this? That the conditions are met and the preventive factors are lifted. The Shaykh says, in regards to fiqhi matters, the faqih is the one who says this, not anybody. طيب, what about fatwas? The mufti. طيب, what about things that have to do with qada, judiciary, and so on? The judge. The judge. Nowadays, ya ikhwa, I would like to add to what the Shaykh, and the Shaykh says this at other places. Nowadays, ya ikhwa, everyone is a faqih, everyone is a mufti, everyone is a judge, everyone talks about khalas. Everyone, he gives you the ruling. You don't even need to ask for it. You don't even need to ask for it. He will give you the ruling instantly. This guy is this, and this fatwa is wrong, and this person is a kafir, and this. Allah, a'udhu billah. I remember somebody sent me a message about a famous person, and he said so and so, which is kufr. Do I refrain from making takfir of him, or do I instantly say he's a kafir? Subhanallah. As if he's a judge coming and telling you that he's a kafir. And he's someone who entered Islam recently. I said, subhanallah. How do you know that he meets the criteria of a disbeliever? Many a time I see this. How do you know he met that? And I give an advice here, and I think this is the advice I gave him. This is the answer I gave him. I said, يعني, to the extent of, I don't remember the wordings, but يعني, be teachers, excuse these people that just entered Islam or entered Islam and didn't have a lot of time to learn their deen, and stop repelling them from Islam. Somebody famous, he enters into Islam, I see on social media, he's kafir, he said so and so, he is putting this and that, and this is haram, and he is fasiq, and look at what he's doing, and there is so and so showing on his videos, and he is doing this, and do you believe the act that he has done? And in the comment section, they are famous, so he's going to have tens of thousands of comments, and they are doing what? يعني, in Arabic we say jald. They are lashing, as if they have a whip, and they are lashing him. He's going to hate Islam like this. Because of what? Because of the bad manners of Muslims. He's going to hate Islam and Muslims and say, I entered into Islam and look at these Muslims. They have the most despicable of manners. They couldn't even accept me. I entered Islam and they tell me this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is haram, and this is forbidden. And they gave me a list of 200 things. And I did a couple of them or 10 of them, and all of a sudden I have become the worst person on the face of the earth. You know what? Islam is a bad religion. If these are the people, these are the Muslims, then the Islam is bad. Why? Because he's a jahil, he's ignorant. So he looks at you, he says this is, the Muslims are bad. So it must be the religion is bad. Ishaq says he's repeatedly uttering kufri statements. Yes, I wouldn't be shocked if he said it 10 times a day. He didn't get the chance to learn Islam. Ya akhi, if it was your father that entered into Islam, I remember I sat down with one of the mashayikh of one of the students of Imam Ibn Baz, Shaykh Ahmed Mansour Sabalik. Wallahi, he shocked me with what he said. He was talking about al-udhr bil-jahl. And he was excusing someone out of ignorance. And he said, those who do not understand what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala say will author a full book, and they are PhD holders and so on. He will author a full book saying that Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah does not give udhr bil-jahl. And on the other hand, you will find somebody who is ignorant about what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said. He will author a full book saying that Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he excuses with ignorance. Because they don't understand that when it comes to rulings upon individuals, every case is on its own. Whether he meets the criteria or he doesn't. You cannot have this general rule, 1 + 1 = 2. And he told me, he said, at certain parts of Africa, look at this, wallahi, this opened my eyes to something I never knew existed. He said, at certain parts of Africa, you will never be considered as someone who follows a religion except by committing polytheism. If you don't do polytheism, they won't even consider you to be a religious person. You don't belong to any religion. How do you hold this person who is in such a society to be responsible or udhr bil-jahl and so on and fit such a criteria? In his place, in his country, in his society, if he wanted just to be called religious, that he belongs to so and so religion, he must do polytheism. La, when it comes to this person, we say, hold your horses. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of da'wah to be done. There's a lot of things to get rid of here in such a society. So subhanallah. Subhanallah, I never knew such a thing existed. Somebody born into such a society. That's very difficult. This is very difficult. طيب. Not to mention somebody who entered into Islam and has millions of followers, has millions and millions of followers, and today he's sitting down with a Sufi. He doesn't know he's a Muslim. Tomorrow he's sitting down with some of the prominent figures in the English da'wah scene. Sufi, I don't know, Hizbi, I don't know. He sat down with 10 different people. All of them are giving him their version of innovations. What do you want him to do? Nowadays, people have become so impatient and so ill-mannered that instead of taking them by the hand and saying, Ta'al ya akhi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, Allahumma barik, MashaAllah, you have done so much good, you entered Islam, and people are now look up to you, they were influenced by you, and they also entered Islam, Allahumma barik, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely. Sometimes, ya akhwa, don't even attack instantly here, this is what you said, and this is a no. Did you know? Did you know that saying so and so could be considered shirk? Did you know that shirk is divided into major shirk and minor shirk? He says, no, I did not know. You say there are certain terminologies that are considered to be minor shirk. They don't get you outside the fold of Islam, but they are very bad. Or somebody says, do you know that some of these Muslims, ya akhwa, they don't even know that dating is forbidden in Islam. They don't know that music is forbidden, for example. They don't know that cussing is not forbidden. They don't even differentiate between major sin and minor sin. They just say haram. It is haram. And then he says, I'm not a perfect Muslim. So you understand, ya akhwa, I have seen this with many a person. I'm not talking about one person. Don't think about one person and one incident in your head. I've seen this over and over happening. Therefore, I say the ignorant should not speak. Ignorant Muslims should not indulge in this. Leave it for the du'at. Leave it for the people of specialty. Turn them towards the people of specialty. When this person, he looks at the chat and it is spammed 1,000 comments telling him, ask Shaykh so-and-so, ask Shaykh so-and-so, ask Shaykh Aziz Farhan. For example, ask Shaykh Aziz Farhan. Ask Shaykh Aziz Farhan. He looks, who was Shaykh Aziz Farhan? He goes to Shaykh Aziz Farhan and asks him. And if he needs in another language, ask this student for that. Don't instantly start bashing and attacking and getting him outside of Islam and that he is. Don't start doing these things. What if it is he belonged to one of these African countries that I told you about? Doesn't know he entered Islam and he thinks he grew up in a society. There isn't a single person that can be called to follow a religion except when he does what? When he associates, does the qurban and does stuff like that, which is associating others with Allah. There's a long way to go, ya akh. There's a long way to go to make this person understand. Now, first, this person is now all over the place. He needs to learn salah. He needs to memorize the Fatiha in a language that he does not speak. He needs to learn the tahiyyat. He needs to learn to say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And if he doesn't learn them, how does he speak? He's going to fast and he never fasted in his life. He needs to to make a certain calculation and know when to pay zakah. He needs to stay away from a long list that in his previously when he was an atheist or a Christian, or this is for him, this was something that is allowed. He needs to know what is false in his previous religion and what is correct. He needs to learn Tawheed. He needs to learn the pillars of Islam, the pillars of Iman. He needs to learn Hajj and that he must do Hajj and perform Hajj and how to do Hajj. He needs to now investigate what to eat, and he lives in a disbelieving society. He might need to do hijrah and learn that he cannot stay there. And ya ikhwa, if it were you, this is so much. Like, look at the ignorant comments. It is even more than this. They're telling him, oh, this is haram and this is haram, and you need to make hijrah, and what you did here is haram, and what you showed here is haram. And now, ya ikhwa, bit by bit. He just entered Islam bit by bit. Therefore, I advise these that enter into Islam, whether they are public figures or people that are famous and so on, don't pay attention to the comments. Don't pay attention to what is being said. When you want to learn the religion, go to a trusted source. Don't sit with anybody in every da'iyah, and go to a trusted source. And what should be the case is that you go to one of the scholars, the prominent scholars. There are a lot of people that entered into Islam that are in the United Arab Emirates. Go to Shaykh Aziz Farhan. Go to Shaykh Al-Kamali. There's a Shaykh Faris tells me about a Shaykh there called Anis Al-Mus'abi. And Khalid Ismail. Go to these mashayikh in Emirates. There are known mashayikh. Go to them, have a translator that is a student of knowledge like Shaykh Faris or some of the students there, I don't know them, and sit down with them, talk to them. I'm not telling you to ignore your followers. You can chit-chat with them and so on, but go to the scholars, Salafi scholars that are known. I have mentioned four for you, and to talk. They're so approachable, these mashayikh and ulama, they are so approachable. And Shaykh Abdullah al-Kamali, I think his name is Abdullah. Naam. And you have a translator with you and speak to the mashayikh. In Kuwait, have a translator, alhamdulillah, with you and go sit with Shaykh Muhammad Hisham, sit with the known mashayikh, Shaykh Ahmed al-Hajri, the very known mashayikh in Kuwait, you can go and sit. أيوة. طيب. نعم, he's called Al-Kamali. I know he's Al-Kamali. I translated one video for him. I know him, mashallah, Allahumma barik. But I forgot his first name. I think it's Abdullah. طيب. نعم, it's so easy to approach the mashayikh. In Kuwait, you can go after Salat al-Jum'ah, for example. After Salat al-Jum'ah, Shaykh Muhammad Hisham sits down and starts answering questions. After he finishes, you go and you make salam to the Shaykh and you ask him if you want. You either ask him in the Majlis al-Fiqh or afterwards. As easy as that. And you can, sometimes some of the brothers, a group of brothers that study in Kuwait, they would call me, they would say, can you go to the masjid of the Shaykh? They would approach the Shaykh, speak with the Shaykh, and the Shaykh would sit, there would be 12, 13 brothers, and I would be there translating, and the Shaykh is there answering. So, now, let's continue as we have said a lot regarding this, but wallah, we need a lot to say about this, and just we don't have time. Just what I'm saying is, ya ikhwa, speak with knowledge. Don't deter people from Islam. It could be your own brother, your own father. This is haram and this is haram. And take it bit by bit. He just entered into Islam. Now you cannot smoke shisha and you cannot smoke cigarettes. And you can let him pray first. Teach him how to pray first. Teach him tawheed first. And let him pray. Focus on these two things. Ramadan is gonna come and he needs to quit the smoking, and it's a huge challenge for him. He was smoking 24 every day, any day. Now he has to give in bit by bit, ya ikhwa, bit by bit. And you might scare him off. He might say, you know what? Nah, this is a very difficult religion. This is a very difficult religion for me. I cannot. I saw people saying this. They say, I cannot. It's too difficult. I cannot. He wants to be a Muslim. They really want to be Muslim. They say, I accept this and I want this. I'm a Muslim at heart. But I cannot do this. You want me to quit drinking and quit smoking and quit. Therefore, sometimes you'll get shocked. Even we say it. We say, طيب يا أخي. Don't speak about these things. Just enter into Islam. What do you mean? He's going to drink alcohol? Ya akhi, remain silent. Don't interrupt. Don't get yourself into these things. Khalas, I am dealing with the brother. Don't get in the middle. Enter into Islam. Tawheed. Why, ya ikhwa? Because even if he continued upon drinking, in the end, he will enter into Jannah. Every muwahhid that does Tawheed correctly, even if he is punished in the hellfire, he will enter Jannah in the end. So when we take it bit by someone who's absolutely struggling, he's saying, I don't want to enter Islam. Why? Because I'm a drinker. I'm not a good Muslim. He's getting that now. I'm blaming myself. I cannot be a good Muslim. La, enter. Look, whatever it is that you're doing that is wrong, enter into Islam. Let's establish that first. That's what you need. And then we're going to tell him what? You have to pray. You have to learn how to pray. We ease him up until we tell him, your salah, if you drink, your salah is not accepted for 40 days. You have to do them, but they're not accepted. Now what? Now he's struggling a little bit. We say, طيب, Ramadan is around the corner. You have to fast. طيب, he fasts. We say, continue it. You don't have to drink. You don't have to smoke it. Whatever it is. Bit by bit, they will get rid of it. Inshallah Azza wa Jalla. And how many a person that were upon this and then they have become from the best of Muslims, ya ikhwa. But it is because of ignorance and the audacity, the daring that we have to speak with our ignorance, without ilm. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Na'am. And I advise myself before you, of course. I include myself before you. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Shaykh rahimahullah said the meaning, which is, whoever fulfills the requirements of an action is deserving of what is due from the action.
Na'am, and this is the 28th قاعدة. أن من أوفى بالعمل استحق الأجر. That the one who accomplishes the job, he gets his reward. Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أعطوا الأجير أجره, give the one that you hire his recompense, his money, قبل أن يجف عرقه, before his sweat dries. And the Shaykh says we can benefit from this qa'idah that the one who did not complete the work that he was given, then he does not deserve the promised reward. So the one who does some of the work, he's given some of the money, some of the reward. Therefore, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, يَقُومُ الرَّجُلُ إِلَى صَلَاتِهِ, that the man stands up for his salah, and he does not attain from his salah except its tenth, its half, its, and so on until the end of the hadith, because we have to do it completely. نعم. قاعدة number 29.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning which is a part of an obligation is fulfilled if there is difficulty in fulfilling the entirety of the obligation.
نعم. And this قاعدة أن الأوامر تمتثل بقدر الاستطاعة, that obligations are adhered to according to capability. Because the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, إذا أمرتكم بأمر, if I command you with a command, فأتوا منه ما استطعتم, then fulfill of it that which you are capable of. As for النهي, forbidding, فلا بد من الانتهاء, then you must abandon, stay away from all of what the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم told us to stay away from. Why? Because it does not need much effort. It does not need much capability. Somebody tells you, leave innovated matters, abandon them, then leave them, abandon them. طيب. If a man says, I'm not able to make ruku', and I'm not able to make, or let's say a man, the Shaykh said, a man, afwan, said, I am able to make ruku', but I'm not able to make sujood. What do we tell him? Do we tell him, khalas, pray while sitting? You don't need to stand up and make ruku'? No. What you are able to stand up, then stand up. You are able to make ruku', then make ruku'. You are not able to make sujood. Now what you do is you gesture with ima, with your head. Aywa. And now the Shaykh is going to give us a benefit. Open your senses for it. This has to do with things that consist of different parts. An act of worship that consists of different parts, like ruku', sujood. He's not able to do sujood, so we tell him, just sujood, gesture with it. As for the rest that you are capable of doing, the other parts, then do them. But what if it doesn't have parts? Like fasting. Fasting doesn't have parts. Someone who's not able to fast for all the given time, do we tell him, fast some time and then don't fast the other time? No. Why? Because fasting is not consisting of parts. We cannot come to somebody and we say, just fast 2 hours, no problem. La. He has to fast all the way until sunset. If he's not able to, and then we say, don't fast. Because fasting doesn't have parts. Fasting doesn't have parts. Aywa. Naam.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning which is everything which emanates from an allowance, such a matter, for it there is no liability.
From allowance, meaning that which is allowed. طيب, and this is the 30th rule, that which results from using something that you have the permission to use, then you do not pay for it. This is the rule. Not allowance, everything that results from using that which you have the permission to use, then you don't have to make up for it, to pay for it. Somebody says, take my car and take it to my house, drive it to my house. Did he give you permission or no? Yes, he did. طيب. You are on the way and you were driving carefully. You did not neglect and you were not heedless. A car accident happened. Do you pay for it? No, you don't pay for it. The Shaykh says this is the only example. I say I want to add more to it. For example, ya ikhwa, you are on the traffic light. Somebody came and hit you from behind. I didn't do anything. Now he says, no, you have to take care of it. You have to go and do the paperwork. I said, no, you told me to drive it. I went. I didn't do anything. I was there and somebody hit me. I have nothing to do with it. Okay? I did not. There's no tafrit. So, and you are the one who told me and gave me permission. So, the one that drove doesn't pay for anything. Naam. Qaida number 31.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning which is every ruling revolves around its cause. which is the very reason for its legislation.
Allahu Akbar. Amazing translation for this one. طيب, number 31. In prose, we say الحكم يدور مع علته وجودا وعدما. The ruling revolves around its cause to say it exists or doesn't exist, to count or doesn't count. يعني meaning what? For example, capability regarding fasting. You are capable of fasting. Fasting is mandatory upon you. So now what? The obligation, the ruling is there. It's counted and is there. Like the one who's not able to fast, we say you must eat and so on. يعني break your fast. You don't fast until you are able to. Until you are able to. Once you are able to, you fast. Therefore, the ruling itself, it does what? It revolves around its cause in wujuban wa wujudan wa adaman, in terms of that it is mandatory and in order of to do it or not to do it. نعم. قاعدة number 32. I think this is easy يا أخوة. نعم. قاعدة number 32.
أحسن الله إليكم. Everything which emanates from an every condition is binding upon the contractor in transaction.
Contractor.
أحسن الله إليكم. Every condition is binding upon the contractor in transactions, marriage, and intended objectives.
نعم. And the pros for this قاعدة, the Shaykh says الشروط في العقد ملزمة. That conditions in a contract, they are binding. إذا لم تخالف شروط الشرع, if they do not contradict or go against the conditions of Islam, whether it is in selling, the Shaykh says, يعني somebody comes to you and he says, I will sell you this car with one condition, that you give me a ride to my house, and you say, I will buy it from you. Now, do you have to, is it binding upon you? Do you have to drive him to his house? Yes, it is binding upon you. You accepted the condition. طيب, in marriage, somebody says, and I love this example, somebody said, I will give you my daughter as a hand in marriage. I will marry, يعني I will give you my daughter in marriage, on one condition, that you do not marry somebody else upon her. I will add, Al-Imam Ibn Abbas said, you have to accept, you accept it, then it is binding upon you. The ulama said, this condition is not taken into account. Why? Because it goes against what Islam has allowed with evidence. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُمْ. Marry whatever you will. مِنَ النِّسَاء, from women. مَثْنَى وَثَلَاثُ وَرُبَاعٍ. In 2, 3, and 4. In 2, 3, or 4. خلاص, it went against Islam, then it is not taken into consideration. And this is the correct saying, ya akhwa. Yes, there are ulama that have said that خلاص, since you accepted it, then it is binding. But no, this is not the correct saying, because it makes, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? إلا شرطا أحل حراما أو حرم حلالا. I am saying all of this, huh? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, except for a condition that makes that which is halal haram, and makes that which is haram halal. And you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed you, now you are forbidden for, you cannot, because you accepted. La. These shurut, these conditions are not taken into consideration. Yani you take them and you throw them in the garbage. They are not binding upon you. طيب. نعم.
Imam Sa'di rahimullah said the meaning, which is, except conditions which permit a prohibition or its opposite, they are invalid, you should know.
Exactly what I just said. So this is the continuation of the rule. And every condition that makes something that is permissible for you impermissible, or you're not able to do it, or makes something that is impermissible permissible for you to do it, you're not allowed to do it, and you can't do it, then this is a shart, that is what? A condition, that is what? False condition. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ما بال أقوام, what is wrong with people? يشترطون شروطا, they make conditions that are not in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ألا كل شرط, pay attention, every condition, ليس في كتاب الله, that is not in the book of Allah, فهو باطل, then it is false. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning, which is, lots are drawn in cases of ambiguity in rights, or i.e. in conflict, due to overcrowding.
نعم. And this is قاعدة عظيمة, the Shaykh says, this is a great قاعدة, which is that you can use lot lot. I think in American English you say draw. You use draw. When you have يعني the حقوق, the rights of people are overcrowded and you don't know, you're not able which one to pick. طيب. The Shaykh says غترة, this غترة, غترة. You find in a place, the washing place, the laundry place. 3 people came and everyone is saying this is my غترة. And there isn't any designating sign or mark that can tell us which one is which. Everyone doesn't know the alama of their غترة. طيب. Now غترة, we don't know to which one it belongs. So what do? They only draw. The only thing that they could, and the only solution they have is drawing. So they make a draw. This is an example, the Shaykh says. Another one, 3 people, each one of them wants to enter into the restroom. And the restroom can only take 1 person. Who goes first? Let's make a draw. And one of them goes inside. طيب, here comes a question, ya akhwa. How do I make a draw? A draw, ya akhwa, it's like writing the names of people on a little pieces of paper, and then, for example, you let somebody come and shuffle them and take one of them. This is how you make a draw. I added this to what the Shaykh said. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning, which is, if 2 actions of similar, i.e. legislation, coincide at the same time, either one can be performed, so listen attentively.
نعم, the Shaykh says this means that if إذا تساوى العملان واجتمعا يفعل أي واحد منهما شاء. If you have 2 of the actions and they are gathered together, he does one of them, whichever one he wants to. Somebody enters into the masjid and he wants to pray tahiyyat al-masjid or the sunnah ratiba. He can do whichever he wants from them. This is what the qaida means. But the Shaykh did not expand regarding this. Because some of the ulama, they specified this to a prayer that has a reason, rather than a prayer that doesn't have a reason. And there's a prayer of istikhara, for example. You cannot combine both prayers, because this prayer for istikhara is for istikhara. For example, طيب, we will stick to how the Shaykh حفظه ta'ala said. As you can see, this is what the Shaykh said. I will show you. And since this is a Dawrah ta'siliyah, I don't want to get in depth. This is what the Shaykh said. Only this, what I have read to you. The only thing that I have read to you is what the Shaykh said. So we're going to stick to what the Shaykh said, so that we do not prolong, inshaAllah azza wa jal. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Every person engaged, i.e. with a contract, cannot be engaged further. An example of it is a pawned item and an endowment.
نعم, أن المشغول لا يشغل. المشغول لا يشغل. That which is occupied, you don't occupy to something else. What does that mean? You mortgage your car, for example. You mortgaged your car. Can you go and sell it? No, you mortgaged it. أيوة. طيب. So something that is already occupied at that position, that it is a mortgage, for example, you cannot go and do something else with it as well. You go and sell it as well. This is not allowed. It seems that the Shaykh in the end went very brief, extremely brief. طيب. And then the Shaykh says, for example, there is a driver. You have a driver. You tell the driver, you hire the driver, you say, go and work for my sister and my mother. And then you say, go and work for my father. He says, I am not able to. I am occupied now with my job, with your sister and mother. How can I do both of them together? لا. So he's already occupied with something, you don't occupy him with something else. نعم. Qaida number 36.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning, which is, whoever fulfills an obligation on behalf of his brother, for him is a return, if he intended to request it.
If he intends it, the intention must be there, And so this is the 36th qaida, that when somebody does an obligation on behalf of his brother and he intended that he will ask the brother to give it back, then he has the right to do so. For example, somebody went into jail because of a debt. So you went and you paid this debt on his behalf. And your intention is that you're going to ask him to pay you back. So once you got him out, You said, now the debt that I paid off for you, I want it back. And it is in your due time. Take your time, but pay me back. Do you have the right to do so? Yes, you have the right to do so. But what if you did not intend this? You did not intend it in the first place. You said, I'm just going to pay it for him. And you did not intend that you're going to ask him. Now this has become a donation. You don't have the right to go and say, pay me. You understand? You cannot now, because in the beginning you did, and then you thought to yourself, you said, why did I pay it? Let me go and I paid it and I want to take it from him. Huh? Let me go now. I changed my mind. Let me go and ask him to pay me. La, you don't have the right to. You don't have the right to. You must have that niyyah initially from the beginning. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Imam Sa'di rahimahullah said the meaning, which is a natural deterrent from a sin is like a religious deterrent without any denial.
Na'am. And this is an extremely important qaida, number 37. That instinctual deterrences, yani what? Yani some people by their nature, they don't like corruption. He doesn't like that which is forbidden. Do we say that you don't have a reward for you're not rewarded for this? No. We say he's like the person who stayed away from that which is haram as of fear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like the wazi' al-shar'i. Therefore the Shaykh says, abandoning that which is munkar does not need an intention. And it is something that you get rewarded for. This is what the Shaykh said. This is what the Shaykh said. And I won't add anything to what the Shaykh said. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him. And as you can see right at the end, the Shaykh hurried up a little bit. And we need this hurrying up a little bit because we need to finish now. It's already time for Asr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the Shaykh. I would like to just say one thing. As you know, this is a dawrah that is intended to make you become students of knowledge. Meaning, you started your journey. You're just starting out. I want to become a student of knowledge. I started. So, when we finish 12 books, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best how many days, 10 days, 12 days, 14 days. That is an accomplishment. And there is a lot that has been covered. And there are diamonds and there are benefits that sometimes you might not even find in what? In full-fledged volumes and big books. Therefore, ya ikhwa, we have more than one way of studying. I will end with this benefit. You might study the book itself. You just read the book itself. And the terminologies that you do not know, you get them explained to you. And you can finish very quickly like this. And this is in the first level of studying. Secondly, you pick an explanation that is not in depth. Don't go and book me. You take 700 volumes, 700 pages in one volume. No. You pick something that is 50 pages, 60 pages. You finish that. You might take the same book itself after now you have actually known it. And you memorize it if you want to. Or you know it a lot. What it means on face value, you know it very well. And then you do what? You get into a full-fledged explanation. So for example now, after we have studied this here, Mandhumah al-Fiqhiyyah, somebody says, I really want to continue. We say then, repeat what we have studied here, but what? With knowing all of these rules. Therefore, I want you to put the 37, 38 rules that we have gone through in a page so that you can go through all of them and know each and every one of them. And then what you do is, you know explanation for them on face, not in depth, and you know examples for them. And the Shaykh has given us so many examples and I've explained so much. Afterwards, move on to the explanation that we have in our channel, in a playlist, the explanation of Shaykh Sulaiman Rahili, to go more in depth. Afterwards, if you want the same text but a big explanation for it, you can do so, or you can move on to a higher matan, new matan altogether. That is a little bit more like what, like for example, the Mandhumah for Imam bin Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala. And do so with everything else. Like Mustalah al-Hadith, you finish it, you go to the explanation of al-Bayquniyah for Imam bin Uthaymin. Afterwards, you go to Nukhbat al-Fikr and then Nuzhat al-Nadar. And you stick to that and the explanations. And you get to the full volume of Imam bin Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala. After you know all of these things, you know what is mu'dal, what is aziz, what is gharib, what is muttafiq, what is muftariq, what is mu'talif, what is mukhtalif, what is ali, what is nazil, what is munqati', what is marfu', what is mawquf, what is mursal, you know all of these things. You understand these things, you know them. So now we want something that is a little bit higher until you all the way you reach whatever you want afterwards. So once you are given the keys and given the foundational knowledge that you need in every branch of knowledge, now you can sail. And when I say sail, not on your own, also from the explanations of the people of ilm. Also from the explanations of the people of ilm. The third level is, after you have done all of these two, now if you want to sail on your own a little or a lot is up to you, but you always go back to the people of ilm when you find something that is problematic. This is how a student of knowledge should be, and this is what we should do as a students of knowledge. And when you look at Aqidah, we have covered, alhamdulillah, and we will cover a lot. So we have usul tafsir, we have the akhlaq of the student of knowledge, we have, we were going to start seerah as well, and so on. Usul fiqh, qawaid fiqhiyyah. You see, every branch of knowledge we have actually covered that which is foundational, and there isn't anyone on the face of the earth that can say, I have covered everything that is foundational or everything that has to do about this branch of knowledge, as this is impossible to accomplish in one explanation, whether it is 100 pages or 200 pages. This is not accomplishable, even in 20 volumes and 30 volumes, not to mention something that is brief. And in seeking ilm, ya ikhwa, we always start brief, and we always have to be competent and to be really good with the usul, because as Imam bin Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala, if you do not attain the foundations, you will not reach your goal. Man ضيع الأصول حرم الوصول. The one who does not attain the foundation, therefore, what is foundational knowledge, and dawrats like these ones, courses like these ones that are foundational are extremely important for students of knowledge, whether beginners, whether medium students of knowledge, and even advanced. Even advanced students of knowledge, this is a revision for them. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the benefit, and we say alhamdulillahi awalan wa akhira wa zahiran wa batina. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. In 40 minutes, inshallah azza wa jal, we will start with usul al-fiqh and the matan